Hey right guys, Truth Munch's Joe here, and today we are going to be doing a little review for Little Women, or a big review for Little Women. I don't really know how long this video is going to be, but I wanted to do more reviews this year, even if films kind of have been out for a while. So the film I'm reviewing after this is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Even though that came out months and months ago, I just want to talk about film more on the channel, and Little Women is going to be the first one of that, as that is the first film that I actually watched in 2020, so what I will say is it was a good way to start off the year. I'll say that. Little Women, I was most intrigued into because one, it's directed by Greta Gerwig, who did Lady Bird, that I have somewhere there, and I really, really enjoyed Lady Bird. I don't think I adored it as much as some people did, because obviously a lot of people were saying it's perfect, 5 out of 5, and I think it's one of those films where I can understand why people think it's a 5 out of 5. But for me, it's kind of like, I think I gave it a 3.5. It's still good. I still really enjoyed it. But the direction, the one thing about Lady Bird that I loved, apart from like the acting, was the direction. The direction was incredible. So Greg Gerwig doing Little Women, I was excited for. On top of that, it was Florence Pugh. Not gonna lie, Florence is a goddess. I had seen her in Midsummer prior to this film, and she was actually, I kind of went in with a little bit biased, like, oh, I kind of want her to be the best character because she's my favourite actress out of all of them, even though the actors and actresses in this film really, it's like Meryl Streep, Saoirse Ronan from Lady Bird, Emma Watson, like Hermione was there, which is mad. Timothy Chalamet from Call Me By Your Name, and Lady Bird as well, yeah. They're all incredible, obviously, but Florence Pugh is the one that I was like, I just want her to be a good character, please, because I knew she was going to be like great at acting anyway, and she was. She was actually my favourite character as well. Bias aside, her story in this film was my favourite. So yeah, Little Women's actually based on a book, and it's about these four siblings, this little family, and it's kind of done from two timelines. One is like the present day, and then the other timeline is I think it's 7 years prior, just showing them like living their lives, being a happy family, and then it's 7 years later, and they're still happy, but they're kind of doing their own separate things. So you have Jo, who's played by Saoirse Ronan, and she's kind of wanting to become a writer, and she's living in New York, kind of away from everyone else. Then you have Amy, I think she lives in Paris, and she wants to become a painter. And then I'd say that like the two main ones is Jo and Amy. You focus on them the most. And then Emma Watson plays a character called Meg. Meg, I could be wrong on that. No, yeah, it's Meg. I wanted to make sure. Okay, Meg is Emma Watson's character, and she was probably one of the more weaker storylines for me out of the four. You have like the four main kind of stories with them. She was one of the more weaker ones. She's really good. Emma Watson is really good, and she does have some really great scenes in the film. But it's more so just kind of like her marrying this guy that she actually genuinely loves, and you know they're doing their thing. I don't want to spoil too much, obviously, but they're doing their thing. And then you have Beth, who is the fourth sibling, and she has this passion for playing the piano. So, and I'll say Beth again was one of the more weaker characters. The acting was really, really good. It was just Beth and Meg, I'd say, were the two weakest, and then Jo and Amy they obviously focused the most on, and it showed like they were the two best characters. And throughout the film, you kind of do go from location to location, New York and Paris in the present day. And then it does do, like I say, those flashbacks to when they are all at home and living together. And I feel like the flashbacks did a very good job of building up those characters and what their bond was like as siblings, because in the present day, you don't really get that as they are so far apart, and all they can really do is, you know, send letters to each other. Ain't no text messages or, you know, FaceTiming in this time. So, but it was really the flashbacks in the past that did build on the characters more so, I'd say. The only not annoying thing, but one thing that I didn't love about kind of jumping back and forth is it did it a lot. Like, I think there was a moment where we jumped back to the present day for literally 5 seconds, and then it was back in the flashbacks, and then it kind of did that here and there as well. Like, it would go to the present day for like 3 minutes, then to the flashbacks for 5, and then back and forth. And I felt like it did do that quite a lot. I wish it would just kind of stay in one place for a good amount of time, then spend a lot of time in the, you know, present day. Then I don't mind doing back and forth with flashbacks, but you know, when it's doing it so much that sometimes it's kind of hard to remember. You're like, okay, we're in the past or present. So that was like one of the flaws I kind of had with the jumping back and forth, but it wasn't awful. Like, it could have been a lot worse. I just think it could have been a bit cleaner. I actually noticed we were in the past because of Amy's hair. Like, she kind of had the fringe in back in the day, and then present day she had like loads of shit going on like Florence Pugh did. So that's how I kind of took note of if we were in the past or not. But so yeah, that's like the main gist of the story. And so obviously the acting's incredible, the direction is amazing by Greg Gerwig, the colours, it's such a colourful film, which I really love, and it was a nice like Christmassy film. It had like two Christmas scenes in there anyway. So it was nice to kind of go from Christmas to New Year's Day and have that film just, you know, start of 2020 is a nice heartwarming film, and I really, really enjoyed it. I definitely preferred it to Lady Bird personally. I felt like I connected with the characters more in this film. As I said, Amy and Joe were both really good, but even Beth and Meg were decent characters as well. There wasn't one character in this film that I hated. Like there were some moments between the characters where you dislike them, like Timothy Chalamet. There's some scenes where you're like, oh, dude, come on. And then Meryl Streep, she's actually quite funny in the film, but there are some moments where you're like, Meryl, can we chill out? So yeah, it's quite a long film, but it was a very chilled out film. It never felt like it was dragging out at any moment. I felt like the ending was really the ending was so satisfying. There's like one scene where I was like, yo, that's a satisfying moment. So the ending's really, really good as well. Not going to be a film for everyone, because there can be moments, I think, like scenes where it can seem a little bit slow, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the film feels slow, if that makes sense. Like there were some scenes in there that I was a bit like, okay, let's try and get the ball rolling a little bit more. But that wasn't super noticeable. It was just like a couple of scenes here and there. More so actually at the start of the film. I felt like after about 30 minutes it really started to get things going, and you know, when you got a bit more invested in the characters, and you kind of got the idea that it was jumping back and forth throughout the film. But the romance in here as well is beautiful. I'm a sucker for romance, and I feel like Little Women did a very good job at that as well. Some surprising bits of romance in there that I didn't see coming that I was quite satisfied with. So overall, really enjoyable film, better than Lady Bird for me. I don't think it was perfect. Like I said, the flashback stuff was a bit all over the place here and there, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 for Little Women, which is the first film of 2020. I am going to review Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well, as I watched that last night. I know that, like I say, months late, but I want to do more film reviews on here, even though it's not really much of a review. I don't have a script or anything, I'm just rambling off the top of my head, so I hope that's okay. But yeah, if you saw the film, let me know what you thought of it down below. Florence Pugh always wins though, and that is a fact. So yeah, until next time guys, thanks for watching, peace.